Today, we have the Minecraft updates tier list. 19 updates, spanning from 2011 to 2022. So let's get right into it, starting with Minecraft 1.0. Easy S tier to start. It's introduced so many essential mechanics, from brewing and enchanting to the end biome, as well as mobs like blazes, magma cubes, snow golems, and villagers. While many of these would be expanded upon and given utility later, this laid the groundwork for the game as we know it today, and it actually added an end goal to the game with the Ender Dragon fight. Before this, the game was, while still fun, didn't have a point to it at the end, and this really sort of revolutionized it in that way. Now, let's move on to its successor, 1.1. This was basically a bug fix with slight additions of the beach biome and spawn eggs. It added some cool things like music disc, a couple enchantments, but it was just a solid update without a marquee feature and without a theme. I'm gonna put it in D tier, but there's not a single bad update to the game. I'm just gonna say that. Now 1.2, and this is another somewhat underwhelming update. We got some solid features, don't get me wrong. Iron Golem and Ocelot are good, and these went with zombie sieges and jungle biomes. Also, the best structure in the game, the desert well, was added. Once again, no theme or marquee feature, but the features we got are definitely better than the last update. I'm gonna put it in C tier. 1.3, and it's getting good. We got trading, a crucial mechanic nowadays, as the main feature. The jungle and desert temples, two crucial structures, were also added. Adventure mode and emeralds were also added, along with golden apple and the notch apple. Several crucial commands like /seed, /game mode, /time, /give, and more came in this update. Overall, really good. It's going in B tier. Now 1.4, the pretty scary update. This gave us anvils, command blocks, and everything to do with the wither, from wither skulls to beacons. Witches were also added. Also, even more commands like /difficulty, /spawn point, /weather, /game rule, and /clear. Overall, this is just a great update. Another B tier. And you know what else is great? Subscribing to my channel. We're going for 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, or as soon as possible, and you'd be an absolute legend for subscribing, so make sure to hit that button. 1.5 introduced Redstone, which is pretty major. From daylight sensors to droppers, hoppers, and comparators, this revolutionized what you could do in the game. That alone places it high, but besides Redstone, there's not many features, which is why it's staying in B tier. 1.6 is next, and this is around the time I started getting interested in the game, and this is pretty iconic for adding horses. They're not the most useful thing now, but back in the day, they were one of the best transportation methods in the game. And even now, I still use them in early game. Besides horses, there just wasn't much else though, so I'm gonna go with like a low C tier. 1.7 is up, and this is the first update I played like heavily, probably around 8 years ago. Maybe it's because of that I think it's probably the best update since original 1.0. It introduced 10 new biomes, from mesas, savannas, dark oak, and birch forests, to flower forests, taigas, and new extreme hills. Dozens of new blocks were added to make these biomes work, and it really expanded the sense of wonder of the game and made exploring worth your time. Going with A tier here. 1.8 was the first update I played the snapshots for, and the first one I was really hyped for, and to be honest, everything after it still feels kind of recent for me. This update added a lot of cool features, like the ocean monuments, elder guardians, and spectator mode. Really like it, and I feel it's comparable to 1.4 in many ways. For that, it's gonna go around it at B tier. Now, 1.9, probably the most controversial update in Minecraft history. Let's start with everything that's not controversial about it. First, the Ender Dragon fight, which is sort of the big feature, which it just completely changed. I love this. The end cities, end ships, and elytra are all like elite tier features. Dragon's Breath and lingering potions were dope. It added shields and the offhand. And going with that, of course, is the change to the combat system, which just still ripped the community apart and made every update past this have a lot lower of a player base. Basically, I'm sure you already know this, but it added a attack timing mechanism so you can't spam as much. Personally, I'm indifferent to it. I don't mind the spamming mechanics. I don't mind the new timing either. So, I'm not really a PvP guy, to be honest. So, I'm giving it a high B tier. A lot of people might put this as the worst update. And if you're really a 1.8 PvP person, I could understand that. But, yeah, so that's my take on 1.9. Ooh. Now, 1.10 is one of the more low-key updates. I do like its Frostburn theme, which updated the desert, nether, and ice biomes, adding husks, strays, and polar bears, but not much else. This isn't very grand, but it's still solid for what it is. Gonna go with like a low C here. Now, 1.11, and this is pretty good. We got shulker boxes, observers, a ton of cool exploration features as well. These included the Woodland Mansion, a variety of kinds of illagers for them, and new maps to find the mansions. Llamas were also a pretty cool addition. On a personal note, this is probably the most hyped I've ever been for a Minecraft update, since I got to see the announcement live at Minecon 2016. Overall, really good, like a decent to strong B tier. 1.12 is really mixed for me. It's one of the smallest updates and had a ton of just tiny changes as well. It added new colors for beds, changed hardened clay to concrete, added terracotta and the parrot. I don't understand why the name change is necessary, and I still dye every bed I make red because the original one's just too iconic. Overall, the only worthy thing it did was add a decent decoration block and glazed terracotta, so I'm gonna put it in D tier. There's just not much at all there. 1.13 was significantly better, but still has its drawbacks. Adding a ton of stuff underwater, from live fish, turtles, and turtle beaches, to coral reefs, underwater ruins, drowned, and dolphins. I love pretty much everything about this update besides one thing. Yeah, the Phantom is easily my least favorite mob in the game, just because it's such a nuisance. I made a rant about it a year ago, so check that out if you want to. This drags it from a potential A tier into the B tier, so we'll put it there. 1.14 is another decent to solid update. It redesigned villages to have different designs based on their biome, and added pillagers and pillager outposts. Villager trading and occupation systems were also completely revamped, making changing their professions quite easy. Many new decorations were added, and 2 biomes got overhauled. The taiga was given the fox and the sweet berry bush, while the bamboo forest was added to the jungle biome with the panda. We also got the crossbow and the raids mechanic. I really like this one. I'm gonna put it in the A tier. My only issue is the bamboo forest and taiga overhauls didn't really fit into the village and pillage theme, but they're still pretty good additions. 1.15 is the smallest update to the game since 1.1 or 1.2, just adding bees and a couple blocks. Besides that, it was just bug fixes, which is good, but it doesn't compare to pretty much anything else on the list. I think this update's okay, but it did so little that I kind of have to give it a D tier. 1.16, on the other hand, is just pure awesome. Easily one of the best updates ever, renovating the Nether. At the point of release, there hadn't been a major update to the Nether for nearly a decade, and it remained one of the ugliest biomes in the game. This update added 4 new biomes across the Nether, with several new blocks and even new wood types in these biomes. We got new mobs like hoglins, piglins, and striders, and a new major structure in the bastion. We also got a new armor and tool type for the first time in forever, netherite, which is the best tier in the game. Pretty much no complaints here, giving it a strong A as well. 1.17 is nowhere near that. While the Caves and Cliffs update as a whole was probably as good as the Nether update, which we'll talk about in a minute, 1.17 is not there. With the entire update hyped up, we were disappointed when no world gen changes happened in 1.17 besides adding amethyst. The lush and dripstone caves were not available in normal worlds, and the generation felt unfinished and had awful game performance compared to 1.16 and even 1.18. We did get some cute and cool mobs like the axolotl, goat, and glow squid, but I would have vastly preferred if the entire update was delayed and we got all of it at once. So it's going in the D tier. 1.18, as I said, was the real meat of the caves and cliffs. We got the completely revamped generation, both above and underground, and combined with the setup from 1.17, gave us one of the coolest updates ever made. While sure there isn't much else, that enough is able to put it comfortably in the A tier. Finally, we have the most recent update, 1.19. This did add a massive new structure and a borderline boss mob in the ancient cities and Warden. We also got mangrove swamps and frogs, which don't really connect to the Wardens but are still decent additions. A lot of the hype for this update was deflated by the time this update came out, and while it was still decent, it could have been so much better if 1.17, 18, and 19 were all just rolled into one. Going with a C tier here. And that's the list. Hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to subscribe for more tier lists and news videos. Have a good day.